Hello guys, it's Shaun Thomson here and welcome back to part 2 of our build series. So in the last video we of course stripped the Volvo of all its plastic trim, including its mirrors and of course all the mud guards back here. Now today we're going to be sorting the chassis. So we'll be doing a couple of touch-ups to the body itself, but not that many. Today is all about getting in about here while we've got the mud guards off, giving this a good clean, getting rid of all this tar, and of course touching up little bits like this, so that when it comes to show season it is looking absolutely gorgeous. And then again, I don't know what I'm doing with these Durabrakes yet. As you can see, they're quite badly chipped the whole way around. Now there is two options. The first option is we trade in the Durabrakes, which you can do, and get a new set of Durabrakes. That's the expensive way. The cheaper way is going and getting them polished. The downside is they then lose their Durabrake coating, so then they won't always be as shiny unless we keep up polishing them. So I'm weighing up my options, seeing what we can afford. I would really like though to put a super single on the back as well. I feel like that would look really nice if that had a super single on the back, and supposedly it can be done. It's a little bit thin, but you imagine a super single would be a lot fatter, and I think it would look a hell of a lot nicer. And so that's pretty much all we're doing today. So we're gonna quickly get it round to the wash bay, and then of course after that we'll do our tar treatment with Auto Perfect, and then after that we'll touch up and paint the chassis, and hopefully we can get it all done today. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I was trying to move the lorry last night, and I forgot to tie these up, so I've actually ran this one over. As you can see, there's the bit of plastic. There we go. So I got to it there. There's a little bit of reflective plastic there before we ran over it. So today, before we move the truck at all, first off, move any loose bits of metal off it, and we're going to tie these up, and anything else that might be hanging down from the chassis. I don't have any zip ties, but we've got some good old Comartic removal tape, so we'll quickly make this thing road legal, and then let's go. Well, not road legal. Road legal is maybe a bit of a stretch. Look how easy access we're going to get into all these bits in here. Man, how weird does this feel? Look, no mirrors. Wow, man, I do not like this. Just simple things. Is he going around this corner? Oh, that's a good enough. This feels fucking weird, man. I am not a fan. Alright, so we've got a suit on. Now we can get in about cleaning all this jazz. So I'm just going to sit you over here. Heavy time lapse. Nothing you haven't seen before. It's just cleaning a lorry. I'll she's all a little bit. Alright, so there's been a quick change of plan. I've been basically told by office, or should I say my dad, that I have to go out and do 2 pallet runs in a lorry. So we're just delivering the first one, and now we're just leaving the yard, and then of course we'll get those delivered, and then we can get back to doing the lorry. But I'm out here all dirty, still kind of a wee bit wet and that. When it comes first, money comes first, and we can mess about with the lorry later. So I'm just going to quickly drop these pallets off, and Irvin come back, get another load, and then we can get back to doing the truck. So hopefully we can get this done pretty quick. Oh, there we are, finally made it. Let's get these pallets off so we can get back to the lorry. Oh, right, so that does offloaded the first round. I'm just taking my high vis off. So I've got one last load, and then we can get back to doing what we're doing in the truck. So let's go. You need that, Jake. Almost done. Last run of the day, and then we can get back to doing the lorry. Alright, so that is us done. The 2 pallet runs are dropped off, 18 pallets in total, which is normally 1 run. However, we didn't have a truck big enough. This is the only one that's not been used today. So that's us done. Now we can get back to working on the truck. Right, go get a meal deal first though. God, I feel like I've been here before. There we go, that's us done for the day. Card is ejected. It is 12 o'clock, and that means we can get back. So we're back at the yard, the jobs are done, and today we're using the Auto Perfect tar remover to sort in here. Now I've already sprayed it on, and as you can see, all I'm now doing is wiping it off, and it's pretty much coming straight off. It is absolutely brilliant, this tar remover, honestly. I'm not even paid to say this. I mean, look, it's just cutting through the tar completely, almost like it was never even there in the first place. It is absolutely mental. Just spray it on like that. You can see even the second I've sprayed it on, it's already starting to dissolve. Look at that. Absolutely stunning. Can't hear a thing, have both my earphones in. But without further ado, we have a couple of hours to get some tar remover done. I'm going to quickly pause my music so I can actually hear what I'm saying. Sorry, I've had to take the media mount off. It seems to be causing a little bit of a problem, but there we go. And it's all dissolving there. You can see a little pool of stuff that's dripped off of here. But anyways, like I was saying, we've got a couple of hours, maybe even more, maybe even a couple of days on chassis preparation for all the stuff going back on. So not to be rude or nothing, but I'm going to stick the tunes on, I'm going to stick my mount on, and then we're going to do some time lapses because it's the best way. I'll see you all in a couple of hours. Alright, so we've pretty much done a little bit of tidying. Bear in mind we're only really doing the bits that the mud flap was covered for now, but we still have all in here to do as well. And also if I come round to this side, we also have all of in there to do as well. And down in there you can see a little tar marks, but right now we're just doing the bits where the mud flaps would sit. Obviously to make it a lot easier for myself, and it means I don't need to take the mud flaps off again. So pretty much if you imagine the mud flaps sit there, obviously the wing tops do come off, but we're just trying to take off as much of the tar that would be covered by the mud flaps. But it's looking a lot better. That has came up really well. That is a hell of a lot cleaner than what it was. Of course we're working our way back here. We've got a little bit here like paint issues. I don't know what we're going to do, whether we strip it off and just paint it. Obviously we'll get bits like this, really bad bits that we can touch up. We'll just kind of wire brush that off. But now we've got the other side to do. This side isn't as bad, don't get me wrong, there is still like tar marks, but there isn't as many tar marks as what's in the rest of the truck. So we'll quickly do that. And then after that, that'll probably do us for today. Obviously it'll still be the same video, but we'll come back tomorrow and I'll paint all these wee bits and do wee touch-ups, and then hopefully that should look a lot nicer. And then once we obviously build it up, we've got the mud flaps on, blah blah blah, then we can go into the middle of the chassis on days off, like weekends and stuff like that, and then I'll start cleaning the middle of the chassis and under the chassis. But right now, I'd say that's looking a hell of a lot better. Right, start again on this side, I guess. Right, okay, so I'm not gonna lie to you, that's me done for the day. It's now 4 o'clock. I've been working on this roughly since 8 o'clock this morning, minus maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours for doing the pallet run, and I'm all lorried out. It's time to go home, because I know that the way, how do I put this the best way possible? The way my brain works sometimes is, once I don't enjoy a job, or it's starting to get monotonous or whatever like that, I start rushing it. And I know for a fact I've rushed this side because it is not as clean as what the other side is. So if I go home, take my mind off it with something else, and then I come back tomorrow, I know that I'll do a better job of that side. But it is almost done. There's just wee tiny bits. There's obviously a lot of stone chips as well. Every kind of wear that needs sorted. But the main thing is we cleared that front wheel up. I don't know what's happened to that front wheel. That was a mess. But now that is a hell of a lot cleaner. Bear in mind, this is a 4-year-old lorry. It's done 500,000 kilometres, so it's gonna be a little bit rough at the same time. But I'm gonna go there now and give myself another task, because I'm not enjoying it, and I don't like doing a job that I don't enjoy, because then I don't do it properly, if that makes sense. That was not bad. That was not bad. Spent a good 5 or 6 hours on it today. I'd say that's enough for one day. So come back tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday. I'm working in the morning. But again, just a short shift because the lorry's off the road. I can't be doing the big jobs. All the big jobs have been given to Scott Lee, and we'll get this all touched up a little bit better. I'll probably do a bit of painting as well, and then we go and pick the parts up tomorrow night, hopefully. So don't get me wrong, it is lovely, but you know, just little things like the top of this and like in here and stuff like that. I just want that to be all perfect, what as nice as I can. I know that she's not going to win any shows. I said that about the old Volvo, and it proved me wrong, but you know what I mean. I want to see about getting a ceramic plate as well, because this does my nut in, and I'm only ever going to be running my cleaner, so I'm going to see about that, see what's involved with it, see the cost and stuff like that. But I think a ceramic plate would be quite nice. But anyways, I'll see you all tomorrow. Have a good one. Alright, so it's been 2 days since we done a last little bit of an update, but that's just because I was working Friday, and if I'm being honest, there wasn't any time for trucks. We did pick the parts up. Parts are sitting over there in the yard. We'll show you that in just a little bit. They're looking minted, by the way. However though, I didn't get much recorded, just because I was working and obviously focusing on my shift rather than trying to make content. But anyways, we're back, and of course, before we get the nice beautiful parts on, we need to do a little bit more prep. So here we are. What we're doing is hitting this with the wire brush that we have here, and we're just taking it off all the little bumps And as you can see, all the kind of rashy bits and all the bits tighter to the chassis that are nice and clean. I'm going to try and keep them as original as possible, so I'll come in that with some nice fine grit, sandpaper, sorry, so that I'm not touching the actual original chassis and only touching up the bits that actually need it. So we've got 3 bits here, and then of course the struts. We'll do a little bit on the top of these as well, and then of course we'll try our best to tidy this up best we can as well. So we've got spray cans, and we also have brush paint, or whatever you want to call it. We have this, what I mean here, the brush paint, and we also have the spray cans, so we can go between the two. Another thing I had an idea of is, I don't know if I want to do my steps. I feel like they've looked really nice black, because I know when you paint steps, they're shite after it. And another idea I had was painting this. Now I seen that, I think it was a Scott Lee lorry, and this was all painted in here red, and I don't know, it just looks really nice and just really set it off. But is that then going too far? I can always come back to that and do that at a later date. There's like a nice wee subtle detail that I quite liked, but I think if to get to this plate I need to take this off, and then to take this off I need to take this off, and I think it's just too much effort, if I'm being completely honest. Unless I mask it all off and give it a wee paint, but I don't know. Behind the grille it looks really nice. And obviously, of course, on that subject we do need to touch all these, scrape all these back as well, and touch these up with black paint, all the kind of rusty bits. And obviously get that all touched up so it looks nice. So without further ado, I'm just going to leave you a couple of time lapses again, because it's just going to be too boring if it's just me recording the hours that I spend on this thing. So without further ado, see you all in a bit. Actually, before we go, we need to start the day right. You can tell how many days I've worked on this. So that was obviously, I think that was also Saturdays. That was also Saturdays. You know, it happens. But we'll clean up the yard, don't worry. This is my bit where I park my lorries. But without further ado, see you all in a bit. Alright, so today hasn't gone to plan at all. I know I promised you time lapses of me doing stuff, and I was planning to get all the chassis ready for today, but I've only literally got the driver's side. So here's what I've touched up. So looking a lot better. Still not like amazing, like you can obviously tell they're still a wee bit rough. They're certainly a lot better, like you can still see the bumps and stuff in there, but it's a lot better if I'm being honest with you. It's as good as it will get. They are a wee bit rougher, but I'll get a lot more videos tomorrow, and then obviously I need to go get impact sockets as well, because what I planned on, what I originally done was took all these bolts off to try and get these actual panels out so I could sand them and then like spray paint them over here in my little spray paint booth, but that didn't work, so I put them all back together. I've wasted a good amount of time today. I've f***ed about doing wee things, like stupid things, like I tried to polish my tank this side here, and then the polisher broke. But tomorrow we're going to hit it a lot harder. Today I've just f***ed about, I'm not going to lie to you. It's not been a great day, it's really not. It's been very unproductive, and I've not gotten to where I was hoping to be for today. But tomorrow is Sunday, and I think we're going to hit Sunday a hell of a lot harder, and hopefully get this finished. Alright, so it is at 10 o'clock Sunday. We are back. Of course, now that we have better light, I'll show you what I was actually doing. First off, we're touching up this little black bit in here that you can see through the grill, so making sure that didn't show any rust. But here you can see what I was talking about, where I was touching these up and making these look a little bit better. Don't get me wrong, you can still see the rust bumps, but of course the paint has kind of touched it up. You can see there's now no kind of oxidization, whatever you want to call it. This panel, still a bit rough, you can still see the little bits there, but that's what it is. I can only do so much. If you imagine that's what it looked like before, then I'd say that looks a lot better. And then of course these are what the mounts look like before, where it's all kind of peeling away and stuff like that. So I feel like the job I've done isn't the best, don't get me wrong. You could probably do a hell of a lot better, but I'd say that it is at least better than this look here. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to quickly touch up these 3 bits, and then we might do a couple of wee other touch-ups, and then that is us done for the prepping series, and then we can get on to actually building. Of course, we've got these panels over here that we've done as well, and then we can get on to putting all the parts on, building it up and making it look gorgeous. Obviously we've still got a lot of touch-ups to do, you know, in here and stuff like that, but we can do them later. But now all I'm doing is touching up these bits here, because it's a lot easier to touch them up when the mudguards aren't here than when they are. So without further ado, let's get the tools and let's get into it. So it's probably the roughest job you'll ever see, but this is literally what I'm doing. I've got a little screwdriver here, and all I'm doing is just see all these bubbles. I'm trying to see if I get a good camera angle, getting right in them and just popping them off, and see all that paint just pops off so easy. That's all I'm doing at the start, and then of course we're sanding it. Now for instance in here, how all that just fumes off, just like that. It's mental. And then of course we come around this side, we've got a couple other ones. Run the screwdriver along it and they'll just pop off like that. Of course, same on this, you know, just peeling off any bits of rust, any loose bits before obviously we get into it with the sander. And then of course when we come around here as well, this is the fun bit. You can get right behind here just take off massive chunks. Quite interesting, I quite enjoy this bit, the destruction part. Once we've done all that, of course, we'll then paint it up. But one of the things we've got to do first is take off the little mounts that hold the... take off the poles, sorry, that hold the wings in. So, now that we've got our handy tool, let's get into it. Alright, so we've got a big gun, battery in it, and of course an impact socket. You know, they're just the new chrome ones that have just come out. Now we're doing, take these off like that, and the bolts stay in there, we just leave them in there anyways. Set the bolts in there safe up there. Take the rubber pole out, or the rubber out of the pole. And there we go. That gives us a wee bit more room just for getting in about certain bits, and it means we can get right into it with a wire brush, sandpaper, and of course the trusty little screwdriver. So without further ado, I'm just going to leave yous to it, or leave yous here. Jesus Christ, boys, right, so that is us pretty much here. Now I am not anywhere near I thought where I'd be or want to be, however, needs to be back on the road for Monday, so we're gonna have to push on, and of course this is the result we're left with. I mean, it's not bad, it's rough, like, don't get me wrong, it is rough, it's not amazing. Any truck shows folk will be able to come up and see just how rough it is, but it's better, I think. Maybe in the future, I don't know if there's ever any spare money to maybe get the chassis touched up properly, but for now, it's just gonna have to do. I'm not 100% happy with it, it's a bit rough, I'm not gonna lie to you, but it is what it is at the end of the day. It's a 4-year-old truck, it's done 500,000 kilometres, that's where it's at. So, not overly happy, because I'm not that skillful as I'd like to be. But you can see I've touched up all these ones here. I'm just waiting for them to dry. I'm gonna go grab some lunch, and then we'll start recording part 3, which is the building part. It's gonna be quite exciting. There's still a lot to do on this lorry, a lot to do, but I'm hoping when putting these parts on, it'll look quite good. So yeah, let's quickly show you the parts, and then that'll do us for today. So they're actually currently getting installed on this. I'm sure you all recognise this. Let's open it. Look at that. Ooh. Oh, seeing all that in there motivates me again. Gives me a wee bit of motivation to keep going, because I'm a bit demotivated just with how it's kind of came out. If you open up in here as well, we've got even more bits. And if we close the door again. Oh God, there are so many bits to go back on this lorry. But I'm hoping once it's all done, it'll be worth it. But that is the chassis prepped as much as we could. I mean, taking the tar off was probably the main thing, and all the oil and stuff. That really cleaned up the chassis, and then obviously we've done a couple of touch-ups, and they made it a little bit better. It's not like perfect, but it's better. But anyways, that's going to sum it up for part 2 of this series, which is of course the prepping episode. Now we're on to the next one, which will be out next weekend, which is of course putting her all back together. I am absolutely buzzing to see how this turns out. Absolutely buzzing. But anyways guys, thank you very much for watching episode 2, or part 2 sorry, of this series. We'll see you guys all in the next video. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.